Beloved soul, there are no accidents here, and your presence in this moment was not random or misplaced. If these words are reaching you now, it is because something beyond the visible has gently aligned time and awareness so that your spirit could hear what it has been quietly waiting for. You were not pulled here by chance, nor did curiosity alone guide you. There is an unseen intelligence at work, moving softly but with intention, drawing you into a moment that carries meaning meant specifically for you. Right now, in the realm you cannot see but can feel, something sacred is stirring, something connected to your future and your heart's deeper knowing, not yet fully revealed, but already alive. You may sense it as a subtle pressure in your chest, a pause in your thoughts, or a quiet recognition that feels familiar without explanation. This is how truth approaches before it speaks clearly. The timing of this encounter matters, even if you do not yet understand why, because your soul has reached a point of readiness that your mind is only beginning to catch up with. Nothing is being forced, nothing is being demanded, yet you are being gently invited to listen beneath the surface of things, where guidance often arrives as a whisper rather than a command. What is unfolding now does not rush, does not announce itself loudly, and does not reveal everything at once, because it is meant to be received gradually, safely, in a way that honors where you are. If you choose to remain with this message, it will not be because of habit or distraction, but because something within you recognizes that a shift has already begun, that a door has quietly opened, and that your spirit knows this moment carries significance. Stay present, breathe, and allow yourself to listen, because what is being revealed now is part of a movement already in progress, one that did not begin with this message and will not end here, but is meeting you now exactly when you were meant to hear it. Right now, the person destined to stand beside you is exactly the right age for what heaven has prepared, not by coincidence but by careful design, because God did not only shape their heart, He appointed their season, knowing precisely when their maturity would meet your tenderness and when their strength would be able to carry what your journey requires. They are not too young to understand the depth you carry, and they are not too old to grow with you into what is still unfolding. They are not late, and they are not early. They are aligned, standing on a timeline written beyond human expectation. In this very moment, they are at an age where wisdom has softened them without hardening them, where experience has refined them without robbing them of hope. And though it may look unconventional to the world, it fits perfectly within heaven's quiet orchestration. God does not pair opinions or appearances. He aligns purpose with purpose, and age was never meant to be a limitation, but a revelation, a testimony of how much had to be lived, lost, and healed before love could arrive safely. You have been told what should happen by certain ages, what is too soon, what is too late. But divine love does not consult statistics. It listens to the Spirit. The one assigned to love you has lived enough to know what truly matters, and stayed young enough in heart to still believe in what seems impossible, and their age is not just a number, but evidence of a promise ripening. Pause here for a moment and let this truth settle slowly, because every heartbreak they endured, every mistake that humbled them, every season that stretched them, and every breakthrough that rebuilt them was not random, just as every step of your own path was not wasted. What if all of it happened not to keep you apart, but to time you together, so that neither of you would arrive too early carrying immaturity, nor too late carrying regret, but at the same threshold of readiness. And here is where the meaning deepens, because this love is not fragile or naive. It is seasoned, tested, and steady, shaped by years that taught them not to confuse attention with devotion, not to settle for surface connection, and not to chase what fades. They have reached an age where they want what does good to the soul, what honors the future, what serves something greater than comfort. And God has been watching both of you grow quietly into this meeting, refining you in stillness while preparing them through storms. You will not need explanations or lists or reassurance from others, because when your eyes meet, your spirits will recognize one another without effort, and age will fall silent in the presence of alignment. God knew how many seasons they needed to learn patience, how much loss it would take for them to value what lasts, and how long it would take before they could hold love with gratitude instead of entitlement. They have walked through darkness and learned how to protect light, your light, and when they reach for you, it will not be to be saved, but to stand, to honor, to stay. You will feel it then, not because everything looks perfect, but because the timing does, and you will understand that this could not have happened a year earlier or a moment later. Heaven waited until it could be this right, this safe, this holy, and the years between you will no longer feel like distance, but like depth. This love was worth the waiting, worth the tears, worth the quiet nights, because it brings someone who does not just love you, but understands you, someone who arrives ready, grounded, and fully present, not too young, not too old, but exactly right for your journey, your calling, and the life that is about to open. Their age was never random, it was revelation, because every year they lived was shaping them quietly for the way they would one day love you. They did not simply grow older, they grew deeper, softer where they once were rigid, stronger where they once were afraid. What they learned in their 20s taught them how to listen instead of react, how to fail without losing their faith, how to begin again without hardening their heart. What broke them open in their 30s dismantled pride, stripped illusions, and planted humility in places where ego once ruled. What restored them later did not erase the past, but redeemed it, giving them eyes that can recognize a soul like yours when it finally appears. Each season added weight, each wound added wisdom, and they did not arrive here easily. They arrived through wilderness seasons, through loss that forced surrender, through divine interruptions that redirected their life when comfort would have destroyed them. Pause here and let this truth settle deeply, because they were not being delayed, they were being prepared. If they had met you younger, they would have rushed what needed reverence, confused attention for intention, intensity for intimacy. If they had met you later, they might have closed themselves off, convincing their heart that love had already passed them by. But now they stand in that sacred middle ground, where passion has learned patience, where faith has matured beyond fantasy, where love is no longer an escape but a calling. They know now that your silence does not mean absence, that it can mean healing, reflection, or safety, and instead of panicking, they will listen. They understand that your independence does not mean you need less love, but that you are whole, and they will honor that without shrinking or competing. Time taught them what the world never could, that loyalty is rare, presence is sacred, and peace is worth more than sparks that vanish overnight. And here is where the meaning sharpens, because they are no longer searching for someone to fill noise, but someone who makes quiet feel full, not a partner for appearances, but a partner for valleys. They do not want fast love anymore. They want sacred love, the kind that does not shout promises but whispers constancy, the kind that stays. When they look at you, they will see the years you thought were wasted, the nights you survived unseen, the way you kept your heart tender even when it cracked, and they will honor that because they have walked that road too. They will recognize your scars not as baggage but as beauty, because they have learned that love is not about avoiding wounds, but about tending them with care. The heartbreaks that nearly destroyed them trained their hands to hold you gently, and the losses that made them question God led them to a place of surrender where they now pray differently, not for possession or pleasure, but for your peace, your purpose, your joy. They have lived long enough to know that joy outlasts charm, peace outlives pride, and faith carries further than fantasy. They are ready now not to control love, but to cover it, to walk beside you rather than ahead or behind, steady in storms and present in calm. So do not fear the number, look at the fruit, because fruit takes time, and what has ripened in their soul is finally sweet enough to nourish yours. You did not need someone flawless, you needed someone formed, someone who has done the work, laid the foundation, and now desires to build something that lasts. The years made them ready, the fire made them steady, and their age is simply the quiet evidence of everything they endured in advance so they could love you well. And when they arrive, it may not make sense to the world, but it will make perfect sense to heaven, because heaven knows how long they waited, how deeply they were shaped, and how precisely this moment has been named. Have you begun to notice how a certain age keeps brushing past your life lately, appearing in conversations you didn't expect, in faces that linger a second longer than they should, in moments that feel familiar before they make sense? That co-worker who suddenly speaks about love as if they've lived it deeply, that introduction that feels strangely warm, that brief exchange with someone whose presence settles you instead of stirring anxiety. These are not accidents, they are invitations whispered quietly to your spirit. Divine connections rarely announce themselves loudly. They circle back gently, repeating until your soul recognizes the pattern before your mind can explain it. Pause here for a moment and allow yourself to feel this without analyzing it, because the repetition you are sensing is not coincidence but confirmation, unfolding softly in the unseen. God does not send people randomly, He sends alignment, and sometimes that alignment arrives wrapped in an age that challenges your expectations while perfectly matching your destiny. You may find yourself drawn to someone not because of attraction or logic, but because your spirit feels understood in their presence. And their age might surprise you at first, seeming out of place to your plans but never out of place to heaven. What matters is not the number of years they've lived, but the weight of wisdom they carry, the patience earned through loss, the tenderness learned through survival, the calm that comes from choosing healing instead of bitterness. You may meet someone who has walked through long seasons of fire so they could arrive with gentleness, or someone younger in years yet older in faith, steadier in spirit, deeper in compassion, and you'll wonder how they know how to hold space for you so naturally. This is because they were trained quietly, shaped in solitude, refined in moments no one applauded, learning resilience instead of performance, presence instead of charm. And here is the shift you need to feel rather than think, because what keeps returning to your awareness is not a person, but a pattern of readiness that is drawing closer. Their presence will feel like recognition, not pressure, as if something long awaited is finally standing in front of you without needing to explain itself. You will understand that the heartbreak they endured years ago, the awakening that changed them, the healing that softened them, all converged to prepare them for this moment. And you will see that your own delays were not denials, but necessary seasons of growth too. You were not late, and neither were they. You were being shaped to meet love without fear. This connection may challenge what you thought you wanted, but it will meet what you actually needed, because divine love does not arrive according to expectation, it arrives according to readiness. When it comes, it feels like home, not excitement that burns out, but peace that stays. You will notice yourself breathing easier, trusting faster, opening naturally, because this person does not need to impress you. They know how to protect what is sacred. Their maturity will not feel heavy, it will feel safe. And when your eyes meet, you won't count years or compare timelines. You will feel grace settling into your chest, quiet and certain, telling you this is the right moment, the right soul, the right alignment. So when you notice the same ages repeating, the same sense of familiarity returning, do not dismiss it. Heaven is teaching you how to see beyond numbers and into anointing, beyond surface and into substance. This is not about what you imagined, it is about what was prepared. And when divine timing speaks, it does not rush or confuse, it steadies you. The love moving toward you is arriving exactly when it should, not early, not late, but in perfect rhythm with who you have become. When you discover their age, something inside you will settle instead of stir, and you won't feel the urge to question it, explain it, or justify it to anyone, because divine design doesn't argue with the mind, it speaks directly to the soul. You won't feel hesitation or the need to check a list of rules you were taught about what should make sense, because when heaven aligns something, it arrives with a quiet clarity that doesn't require approval. Their story will slide into yours as if it had always been waiting there, not as a disruption, but as a continuation, and their age will no longer feel like a gap to cross, but a bridge built from wisdom, experience, and grace. Pause here and notice how your body relaxes at the thought of being understood without explanation, because that ease is part of the confirmation. Their life will not compete with yours. It will complement it, their maturity meeting your needs, their steadiness matching your calling, their energy aligning with your purpose, until the number itself fades and only the fit remains. God does not join people by dates on a calendar. He joins them by readiness of heart. And your soul will not be asking how old they are, but where they have been, what they have learned, and why it feels like they recognize you. They will have walked paths you never had to, and you will have survived storms they were spared from. Yet the result will be harmony rather than imbalance, a sacred exchange where learning flows both ways. You will honor the years that shaped them, and they will protect the softness that survived in you, laughing at different memories while dreaming the same future, like two seasons sharing one sky. And this is where the deeper truth begins to reveal itself, because what others may question will not trouble you at all. Love that arrives on divine timing does not need defense. It carries its own authority. They will love you with a presence that cannot be rehearsed, knowing when to speak and when to simply stay, not from guessing but from growth. You will not feel like something to be fixed. You will feel chosen to be walked with. You will see how every birthday, every ending, every quiet year was guiding you both toward this alignment, perhaps teaching them gentleness early so they could guard your heart later, perhaps breaking them in one season so they could treasure you in the next. Their timeline was never off from yours. It was pacing it, shaping them as you were being shaped. In their presence, you will not feel small or measured. You will feel deeply valued, because those who have lived enough life do not waste love when they finally recognize it. They will respect your silence, honor your healing, and celebrate your becoming. And one day you will look back and smile at how much weight you once gave to a number that now feels meaningless. You will realize the only measure that mattered was how many times heaven whispered this name to your spirit, how many prayers were formed without knowing who they were for, how many years were spent becoming ready rather than rushing. This is not about what the world calls appropriate. It is about what heaven calls aligned. And when that alignment arrives, your anxiety will quiet, your laughter will deepen, and your future will suddenly include someone who feels like home. You will both understand then that time was never wasted, only redeemed, and that when God writes a love story, He does not follow the clock. He follows the heart. And yours is about to meet one that has lived enough to cherish you and walked with God long enough to love you well. So when they finally appear, don't count the years behind their smile. Feel the weight of the character they carry. Don't calculate the distance between your lives. Sense the depth they bring into the room. Don't search for what convinces the mind. Listen for what quiets the soul, because that is how you will recognize it, not through logic, but through love. When questions rise, even the ones whispered by your own thoughts late at night, the answer will already be living inside you, steady and calm, because this was never about age, it was about assignment, and your spirit has known that long before your mind caught up. Pause here for a moment and let your breath soften, because the pressure you've been carrying to be on time was never placed on you by heaven. You have been measuring yourself against calendars, comparing your becoming to timelines that were never written for you, letting numbers convince you that you were behind, when in truth you have been exactly where you needed to be for what is unfolding now. God does not move by clocks or deadlines. He moves by purpose, and purpose is never late. That ring you imagined, that first kiss you wondered about, that sacred promise you feared might pass you by, none of it has been delayed. It has been waiting for readiness, for alignment, for the version of you who could receive love without fear, and the version of them who could give it without confusion. And this is where the shift happens, because instead of asking what you might have missed, you begin to sense that this season, this exact age, this precise moment, is not an accident, but an invitation. The person meant for you has not been falling behind either. Every closed door, every ending that hurt, every silence that felt like rejection was protection shaping both of you, ensuring that when your paths cross, it will be gentle, safe, and true. You no longer need to panic when others reach milestones before you, because your story was never meant to mirror theirs. It was designed to carry its own sacred rhythm, one that will silence every doubt the moment it unfolds. You will not meet them too early or too late, but in the season where your wounds have softened into wisdom and their pain has been transformed into strength, where both of you can finally recognize love without rushing or settling. Love was never a race toward an altar. It has always been a slow revealing of something holy, and the love being prepared for you does not weaken with time. It deepens, clarifies, and strengthens. You have not been forgotten in the waiting. You have been formed while they, even now, are learning how to protect a heart, how to pray over a partner, how to choose one soul with intention. You do not need a timeline. You need trust, because what is being arranged beyond your sight is more beautiful than anything you could force. God has heard every quiet prayer, every tear-filled question, every moment you wondered if you were ready, and his answer has not been silence but careful preparation, because love like this cannot be rushed. It must be seasoned by time and refined by grace. When it arrives, you will understand why it required this version of you, why it could not meet you in your past or brokenness, but only here, where you stand grounded, wiser, and open. This love is not late. It is being built to last, and when it comes, it will stay, not because it has to, but because it was meant to. You will not look at their age and wonder what if. You will look at their heart and finally exhale, knowing this was never ordinary love, but a divine alignment, one that honors every year you lived, every season you survived, and every step that led you here, right on time. What you have felt as you listened was real, and it mattered, even the moments when something stirred quietly without words, even the places where emotion surfaced before understanding could follow. Nothing in this space was accidental, and nothing within you responded by chance. You are not slow, you are not behind, and you have not missed what was meant for you. The path you are walking fits the season you are in, and the timing unfolding around you is not a mistake, but a measure of care. There is no need now to search, to analyze, or to hold yourself tense with expectation, because what has been spoken has already settled where it needed to land. You are allowed to rest here, to soften your breath, to release the weight of trying to figure everything out, knowing that you are seen, accompanied, and gently carried forward. The questions do not need answers tonight, and the future does not need your control, because the same hand that has guided you to this moment has not let go. You are not alone in this unfolding, and you never were. Stay here just a little longer, in the quiet that follows, and allow the stillness ahead to hold you as we move gently into prayer. If it feels safe, you are gently invited to let a few honest words rest in the space below, not as an explanation and not as something polished, but simply as what your heart has been carrying quietly. You may write a hope you've been holding, a pain you rarely name, a fear that still visits at night, or a prayer that hasn't found language yet. Nothing offered in sincerity is unseen, and nothing whispered from the heart is forgotten by God. As you release it onto the page, know that you are not speaking into emptiness. You are being met, held, and accompanied in love, and you do not have to carry this alone anymore.